guys, this is me Leneha Junsu. Welcome to my channel, which is all about enhancing what you have. Today we are going to enhance our imaginations. So first of all, before we start, if you have any ghost stories or someone had encountered some ghosts, then don't forget to DM me on Instagram so you can be part of our ghost stories gang. So without further ado, let's get started. So this first story is by Sabrina. When I was around 3 or 4 years old, we moved to a house in Bath Island, Karachi. That house was always spooky and scary looking, but it wasn't until a couple of months after we moved that I saw something. Since we were kids, my parents made my brother and I share a room. Their room was right next to ours, and oftentimes I would wake up in the middle of night. One night, I woke up to see a shadow dancing on the wall of our room. At first, I was confused and tried to ignore it, but it went on for 5 minutes. I quickly got out of bed and ran to my parents' room and woke them up. My parents couldn't see anything and tried to calm me down by letting me sleep between them so my brother didn't wake up. But after 15 minutes, my mom woke up to drink water and she saw the shadow too. My dad still couldn't see it, and by that time I stopped seeing it. Then it disappeared and my parents didn't bring it up with our landlord until a few weeks later because a lot of stuff started happening. One time my aunts came to babysit us and the power went out. We had one of those dial-up phones and it started ringing. One of my aunts picked up the phone and there was no sound, just static. When the power came back on, she saw that the phone was actually disconnected and had been for weeks. She told my parents, who decided to confront the landlord. He told us we were imagining things. My mom would come from work and lie down on the bed, only to feel like molten lava was being thrown onto her body. I don't know if this is medically like this thing has some justification, but from time to time in the past I have felt hot tea like pouring right onto my feet. I've felt this a lot of times, even on my hands. Then the landlord's wife started coming to the house and would recite the Quran in my parents' room. Now my parents didn't mind because she was reciting the Quran. But after some time, she requested that my parents move their bed to another corner of the room. When asked why, she hesitated, then told us that there was a woman's grave right underneath their bed. That's evil, to be honest. Whose grave it must have been? Like, have they killed someone? My parents were furious and we decided to move out as soon as possible. But what was the worst part? There was so much furniture and so many things that we didn't even own while trying to move out. It was as if whatever was there didn't wanted us to leave. So we abandoned everything and ran out of the house. I don't know what happened to the house, but I still get nightmares thinking about it. And we lived there only for a year. I have found others who lived in that house that also dealt with the same thing. This is so horrifying. Like, I feel bad for that person, like, who has the grave there. Why isn't the grave in the cemetery and there? I would have called the cops on those people. So this next story is by Amna Vaibi. Around 3 years back when we were in BHA, it was like that portion thing in a bungalow we took on rent. It's weird, but like my grandma, I can feel supernatural around me. My body gets heavier and because of that, they attack me usually. I know someone very close to me who has this type of ability, like their body gets heavier. So that house was a little weird already. I ignored a lot because it was normal in first few months. I did not notice the drawer in our kitchen opening on its own or even shadows beside the fridge. I was ignoring it all, but then a family shifted to the portion of that bungalow. They were Hindu, and when they started their prayers after settling down, the things I felt in that bungalow got powerful, which turned out to be worst. First thing happened when it was Chand Raat of Eid, and it was only me and my sister Sanya were at home, and the rest of my family members were out for shopping. It's already creepy when you're all alone at night. I was watching videos when Sanya was listening to songs and she asked me to bring Coke from my fridge. And when I was passing through the living room, someone calls my name in my left ear, and I swear, I still can't forget that creepy voice. I can't even mock it. I ran back to Sanya and told her what happened. She said, "Stay with me." So there were two beds in that room. I laid on one beside Sanya's bed and tried to calm myself down, but I heard breaths on my right side. My body got heavier because it was real close to me. I used to sleep in this room alone because it was so peaceful, but because of these stories, I can't sleep alone now. Anyways, let's read again. I ran to Sanya and hugged her, but those breaths were following me. Eventually, we called our parents and told them to be back ASAP. Then everything was back to normal, but the drawer of the kitchen became more suspicious by opening on its own, and when I would yell in frustration, it would not open again. What I clearly explain is that it was a family there. I'm sure because I could feel a kid in kitchen who was playing with me and others through opening drawers, hiding things, etc. But in the living room, I would see shadows that were really scary. We did left that house. Then I started getting nightmares. Situation got really worse, so we had to leave that place. Does anyone has any explanation that why are certain houses haunted? This is so weird. So all of you know that most of the stories are from Pakistan, but this specific story is going to be from Malaysia. This story is by my friend Farini. She's a very old friend of mine. So yeah, that's how it goes. It was November 2013. It had been less than a week since I got admitted to university in another city. I was supposed to study in the new campus. But since classes haven't started yet, we were told to stay in the old campus dorms for 5 days for freshman's orientation. I was alone. No friends and family in a city I know nothing about. I was a complete loner, but it was still durable. The old campus I was staying wasn't as bad as I heard from the internet, well, except from the bathroom. It was disgusting. Apart from that, everything was fine. The campus, especially the dorm, was infamous for its ghost stories. Why are all the campuses famous for ghost stories? Weird. At first, I was worried. These things will come to me since I attract such energy since I was a kid. However, the 3 days of orientation went by without me knowing. The remaining 2 days were left empty for us to explore the campus on our own. Since I still haven't made any friends yet, I decided to explore it on my own. On the early morning of the 4th day, I woke up as usual for Fajr prayer. For the past 3 days, The seniors have been the ones waking us up to pray in the mosque. However, on the fourth day, since the orientation is practically over, the seniors didn't come by. So it was rather quiet that early morning. I think I was the only person to have woken up that time. The prayer hasn't even been made. It wasn't Fajr yet, but I figured it wouldn't hurt to go to mosque early. So I went to the mosque earlier than usual that time. The sky was still dark, and surprisingly, that day it was rather cold and foggy. I don't know why, for some reason, I'm just remembering a scene from the Nun movie. Like, do you remember that scene where some creepy thing in the Nun movie is praying and some beads, prayer beads, just fell out of that person's hand? I don't know why, I'm just remembering it. Anyways. And surprisingly, that day it was rather cold and foggy. But I didn't think much of it. After all, I'm going to the mosque and it's not far from our dorm. Even if bad things were to happen, I'm still on school ground. I walked past by this creepy path, which was a shortcut, but nothing happened. I was nearly there to my destination when it suddenly started raining, but it was just a very subtle one. So I decided to walk slowly since I still got plenty of time. But as I was nearing the mosque, I keep getting this bad feeling as if something is going to happen. And the thing is, my instinct is always right. My mind is telling me to turn back and go back to the dorm and just wait till the prayer call, then go out. However, before I knew it, my body already decided to walk, and I was standing in front of the mosque before I knew it. I took heavy steps to approach the entrance, but then I guess at the moment, even my body sensed something's wrong. I was standing there unable to move as I stared to the front and saw a lady in a hijab with pink and turquoise painting splash design. She was sitting with her head down in front of the door of the mosque. So I was left wondering, why hasn't she gone inside yet? Why is she sitting on the floor? Was the mosque locked? Did she not have the keys? Or was she unable to enter? So many things come across my mind, and at that time I heard some noises of people murmuring. So I looked behind and saw the seniors who were in charge of waking us up for the past 3 days walking to my way. I was relieved that moment. At least I won't enter the mosque alone, despite knowing there is another person with me, which was the girl just now who was sitting. However, when I turned back, facing the entrance door of the mosque, the girl was gone. So I assumed she probably went in already, and by then only my feet moved and I walked inside. Okay, so her feet were frozen. I was curious because despite the girl clearly wearing hijab and seems like a normal person, I didn't get to see her face since she was looking down the entire time, so I got bad vibes from that. I went looking for her inside the mosque just in case to prove my suspicious wrong, but she was never there. I couldn't find her. Me and the seniors were the only people inside the mosque that time. Then I realized it wasn't human after all, and my suspicions were right. I thanked my body for not moving a step that time. I saw her because God knows what would have happened if I decided to walk inside and greet her. Until now, I have no idea what was that thing sitting right on the entrance door of the mosque, or what purpose did it show itself so clearly to me in front of God's house. Was it a sign? Was it to give me a warning? I still have no idea.